On my side, I was thinking if he can be included the national team to Egypt. I always encourage him just to keep working hard, and then every coach has his philosophy. So don't lose hope. Just keep working hard. But on my side, I see he's supposed to be the national. It's supposed to be the national team. Supposed to go to Egypt. Personally, in the country, that's the best striking partner we have. Jesse and Michael Longa.
Kibra has managed to produce a few players in the Kenya Premier League, with only Ouma featuring in Europe, and Aswani has attributed the scarcity to various factors such as poor facilities, slum pressure, and poverty.
I think on my side I can say it's a lack of facility in Kibra, and it's not about poverty. I think even there's some kids who are in a poverty situation whereby they don't have boots, maybe there's no dinner, maybe there's no breakfast. But we coaches in Kibera, we try our best to put them together. As long as, even if there's the poverty, but we always try to support their parents the way we can as coaches in Kibera. So I think very soon some of our players will be in KPL, others will be in Europe. No problem.
Started as Olympic strikers in the late 90s, a period in which some of the current Kenyan stars were very young. Olympic strikers then became Olympic talented, boosting the best young talent at the time, and Aswani says better plans are in the offing, with several friendlies and international competitions lined up for the academy.
In Bulgaria, I already have an invitation letter from them. And then about the funding, parents are the ones who are going to fund our children. And then about the teams who are going, we have a soccer talent, we have a team from Nigeria, we have a Ligindogo from Kenya, and then we have a team from South Africa. Those academies from South Africa, like Kaizer Chiefs, the under-13s are going. We have a team from Tanzania, Future Stars are going.
Soccer Talent Academy are the new 2019 Under-15 champions of the second edition of Rausha Kipaji Cup, after beating Nakuru Academy 1-0, and they also won the 2018 edition of the annual Chipkizi Cup.
Last week we were in Rausha Nakuru, we won under-15. In August we are going to Bulgaria tournament, Soccer Talent, and then in December we are going to Dubai, and then we go to Tanzania, Arusha.
Next on. Kuna tabia nyingi sana za kusalimiana kwa mkoana. Umekwaje lakini?
Ana nini bana? Nini bana? Msemaje na mse? Sasa barabarani alafu unaniuliza nini mbaya? Ngenigonga nianguke. Ningeanguka tukuokote. Nini mbaya? Sasa nisikitu raha tu ya mkono. Mkono ni soft. Ka pump. Ina nini jina? Sana nzoa. Salamu gani hizi za fujo? Ni salamu ama ni kututandika makofi na kutandika wewe? Ni salamu.
Kusalimiana kwa aina hiyo ni ungwana kweli?
A very good morning to you. It's so good that you created time to be with us today on News Check. Of course, it's a program that seeks to explore issues that shape conversation in the society. Here on News Check, we always take time to sample some of those issues that probably you missed in the news, and of course, to give you depth and a clear understanding on what is your role and my role in making the society better, as we bring in experts in studio to unpack some of those issues for us. And we're having this conversation at a time when we are battling with the third wave of the COVID-19 pandemic, which has been termed as not just a health crisis, but an economic crisis, courtesy of the economic downturn that has seen so many sectors affected. So many families today are struggling to make ends meet. There are many people who have lost their jobs. Businesses have been closed down. Others are just struggling to stay afloat. We are having bitter conversations about whether we should borrow or not borrow as a country. So the economic conversation is just getting heated each and every day. And that is what we want to talk about. But I'll be biased to focus on a population that has been neglected, that has been left behind, especially during this COVID season. The vulnerable in the society, the widows, the orphans and the vulnerable children. Before COVID, or when times were good, probably you had extra to share with these people. But right now, it's every person for themselves. And organizations that are helping such populations are struggling just to keep them, to feed them, to clothe them. And we're going to share a lot about that and what you can be able to do even during these trying times to be of help to such vulnerable populations. That's our topic on News Check this particular morning. My name is Serfine Achieng Ouma, and our sign language interpreter is Lucy Mwaura. Of course, it's a show for you and I, and we welcome your insights, your questions, your input at KBC Channel 1, at Serfine_Achieng on Twitter. Serfine Achieng on Facebook is where you can communicate with me directly. We're also streaming this live on YouTube and on Facebook. So in case you cannot be in front of your TV set, carry us along with you, and we keep you entertained, informed, and aware of what is happening in your country and beyond borders. So to help me have this conversation, I'd just like to dive into it straight away. I'm hosting this particular morning Newton Onyango Ogada. He's the founder, God Will Provide Foundation. Thank you so much, sir, for creating time for us.
Thank you, too.
Yes. I'd just like us to start, by you painting a picture for us about your organization and what you do. God will provide, or God has provided, depending on how you want to look at it, because it's providing hope for them who were almost losing it. So just tell us a bit about yourself and what you do.
First, I'm happy to be here again. I was here, but I'm again here. My name is Newton, as you have said. I am the director of God Will Provide International. We work in Kenya, and we have many other countries in the world. We began the ministry 2012, and we have been doing a lot of work down there and all over the country. We have orphanage home. I have children there. I've been working with widows in the community, poor, and many other things. Mm-hmm. So that is the background of God Will Provide.
All right, God will provide.
Yeah.
I like to look at it as God has provided because of the population that you're dealing with. All right, thank you so much for creating time.
Yes.
So I was going through a little bit of your history from a paper bag seller to now sitting here today advocating for the rights of the vulnerable in the society.
Yes.
What did we miss in between? How did your story transition into somebody who is bringing hope to the society today?
You know, first of all, you must be, you must have a background. My background was really humble.
Yeah.
And when I grew up in a humble family. And I was having a desire to serve in the community and to serve whenever God provides. And when I got involved into this ministry of God Will Provide, I realized that God has actually answered my prayers on supporting the needy and the needy children, the orphans and the widows in the community. And it's a good thing to do for the people. And I may advise many people to join us and work together with us, because it's something which actually attached to the people. Like you find you go to a home, there's nothing, you just feel there's no hope. But when you bring a hope to the family who has been seeing there's no hope, then God provides. Yeah.
So who is Newton? I mean, at some point you were selling paperback, just hustling in the streets of Nairobi and trying to make ends meet, and today you're here. Just tell us a little bit about
my
yourself.
history.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to share my history, because that's why today I'm here.
Yeah.
When I finished my education, I was looking for a job. And the way in the country here, sometimes getting job becomes difficult. You can look for a job and your job will be looking for a job. Then when I came, I had to start a life with my family because I was married already. I found it was difficult. I started selling paperback here at Kikomba. A friend introduced me to that you can start a life from zero. So I was going to some of the Indians there. I give them my ID. They give me some paperback, then I walk around, I sell them. Whenever I get the money back, in the evening I have to take back the money and they give me my commission. I did that for like close to 1 year. Then I enter the matatu. I start being a conductor at the Babadogo 25. I worked there for like almost 1.5 years. And then I joined to be a matatu driver. Then after that, I got a job at Kenyatta Hospital as a driver there. I worked there close to 2.5 years. Then I felt that I'm not doing my job because I was only working for my salary and only to feed my children. Then after that, I quit the job. When I quit the job, I went back to my home area in Yugis. I started an organization called Uzima Christian Integrated Project. I started planting trees, having a tree nursery. I did it. I got my first cash was around 70,000 shillings. Then when I was working, when I was still in the same field, I met with a friend called Johnny Bridge. He's American. He was a young guy having nothing. God called him to come and work in the country here to do some ministry, like starting an orphanage. Then we came together. Then we started working together. We went through a lot of frustration because we did not have money.
When you were starting.
Even him, he was not having money.
All right, before we get there, how, the God Will Provide Foundation started. I mean, many people would think for you to be philanthropic, for you to give, you have to be rich, you have to be established, you have to be somebody who has extra to give. What do you think about that?
Even now, people always think that you must be rich is when you give. But I want to tell you, giving is not about the rich or about the wealth that you have. Giving is in your heart. When your heart is free to give, then you will give a little what you have. You will give to the needy. You will never focus on that if you get more. What is more anyway? There is nothing like more. If you're waiting to get more, you will wait until you die. So giving is in the heart. When you have half loaf of bread and you have 5 children, you still have to give to these children. You cannot say this is small, I cannot give to this family. But when you start from there, you will find in your heart that you have to give whatever little you have. So it's not that you have to get rich. Yeah.
So why, the big why, Newton, a man your age would be focusing on their own legacy, doing something to earn a living for their own family. What drove you into what you're doing today, having that soft heart for the vulnerable in the community?
First, I got frustrated when I had no job and there was no one to stand with me. I felt that I was alone in the country, I was alone in the world. So I was trying to find out my way. If I get something, I will never let another person to feel frustrated. That was number one. Number two, I've learned a lot. Recently, like 3 weeks ago, we had a funeral of the president of Tanzania. That guy did a lot of work. I was following it. He did a lot of work. Where is he today? He's dead. Somebody already seated in the same seat. I came to learn that whenever you have, will remain. So it's better to share whatever little you have to the vulnerable, to the people, to the orphans, to the widows. Because I came with zero. I will go back with zero. So in my heart, I have nothing to put aside for me, because God already provide for me and for the family. So the much that I have is to provide to the people. Yeah.
All right, so you start this organization, God Will Provide. First, why God will provide, and then what's the story?
If you go back to the Bible, God provided to Abraham when he was sent to go and offer or sacrifice his son. God provides when you are in time of need. God always provides when you are in a situation that nobody can get you out. That's why we call our ministry, God Will Provide. God always come in when, if you look all the sides, you don't see anybody. You only see yourself, but you only have God. So we believe that God Will Provide is a very strong word for the ministry. That's why we are reaching out people. Like, for example, I've reached over 600 women that have built them houses. It is over 600. I've reached out to many children. I've reached out people with disability. Me, as Newton, I don't have the money, but God always provide for me to meet the people. Like when the beginning of Corona last year, I did a lot of feeding. I did a lot of building houses for the widows. I was asking myself, how did I get all this money? But I realized it's not me. It's God who is sending his people to support me so that I can support the rest. So that's where we came with the name of God Will Provide. There's a founder of God Will Provide back in America. It's called Peter. Peter had a dream of God Will Provide, and then he preached about it, he spread about it, and we have very many, we have many branches all over the world. Yeah. So I find it easy with the name.
All right.
Yes.
Well said. So take us through the infant days of, God Will Provide, the foundation. There are many who have attempted to do what you're doing today, but with no success. They end up closing shop and the children are left helpless and with nowhere to run to. How difficult or how easy was it for you to begin this foundation? And what are some of the lessons you've learned over time? It's how many years down the line?
9 years now.
9 years now.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about how that journey has been.
The journey is not easy, because when people see you start a ministry supporting the vulnerable, they think you're getting a lot of funding from Western countries. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes you go a lot, you run out of money. I borrow a lot of money through Equity Bank just to do the ministry. Not to build my house, not to build rental, not to buy anything. I was borrowing to run the ministry. And whenever I get anything from any other person, then I pay back the loan. So it is a long journey. If you don't have God with you, you will run away. Because, for example, many people started this organization to earn. I see many. They start orphanage home. It's a business opportunity. That's why you see many are failing too. Like now during this time of COVID, I don't know how many have closed, because most people depend on the donor funding. When you depend on the donor funding, many people think that when you start a ministry, it's an easy way to survive and eat with a spoon. No, it is not that. You have to sacrifice. Like I told you, when we started, we had no money. With my friend, my brother Johnny Bridge, we were borrowing money. We were struggling. We go out without food. I don't know how many times. I have a friend called Maurice. I was sleeping in his house in Nairobi when I come here to pick my guest or to do some other ministry registration. I did not have money to spend in a hotel. I did not have money to go and eat in a restaurant. I did not have the money. But I was steady enough to understand that it was a calling. It was not just a business. Me, I do business. I have my business. I always tell people, if I want to buy my own things, I go to my business account, I take the money there, I do my own business things. I'm a family man. When I want to buy something for my family, I don't go to the ministry account. I go to my personal account, so that I cannot touch what belongs to the vulnerable. And I thank God I've been surviving. Until now, I can count myself that we are now a little bit steady. We are stable now. We can do other things, like now I'm building a huge school for these orphans. We began the hospital, it's really doing good. I'm trying to do what can bring a small income to the organization.
All right.
You know, yeah.
Newton, we'll talk more about the programs you've put in place to sort of become independent as a ministry.
Yes.
For others also just to get to understand and learn more from this, because several such organizations have closed shop just during this COVID season because they could not stay afloat. But I want us to talk about why prioritize widows and orphans and the vulnerable children as part of the group that you really want to reach out to. Is there something unique about why you opted to help such?
Yes, the vulnerable, if I speak on the vulnerable, I have many cases even now in my office that you reach a woman, a single woman, that have 2 or 3 children. Nobody's taking care of them. They're living in a rental small house. Sometimes they pay 200 shillings per month and they cannot afford to pay the 200 shillings per month. Sometimes they go without food. You know, for example, when this time of Corona, we lost 1.7 million jobs, which means if I am working, I can employ this woman to work even in my house and then I pay. So if I lose my job, she lost the job too. Yeah. So we have a number that they cannot support themselves now. Even now I'm working a way of buying another widow a land to build. She's a single widow, she has the kids, she has no place to stay. And I got it that they get frustrated again with the family members. I have many cases that the widows are being sent by their own in-laws away because of the land issues. I have many children who have been sent away with their relatives because they are orphans. It's a very painful process to see them. One day I was driving along Ngong Road, around Yaya, I think, and I saw some young kids. I shed my tears because they were asking for me food, but they are selling some peanut. I was like, how comes these young children are on the street selling peanut? I had to stop and ask them why. They told me their mother is single and they don't know their father, and their mother has nothing to do. So it is them, after school, they have to run to the street to sell the peanut when there's traffic to get something that they can eat. Me, if I feel this, I feel to take all these kids and go with them.
But can you do that?
Yes, I've been doing that.
Yeah. No, can you take like all of them?
No, I cannot take. I cannot take all of them. That's why now we are coming to the light that we need more people to have the same feelings that we have, so we can reduce the number. We cannot finish, but we can reduce the number of this kind of children. We can reduce the number of these single women living with children and suffering. When I was doing this, I've been seeing a way that these women, we can take them to some trainings, like even tailoring, or we train them on business so they can be self-reliant, because there are very many. And as we speak now, Kenya is becoming more difficult. And we're going to have a big number.
All right, you know, this is something we do not want. We don't want to get there, because then if such a big population is not clearly brought on board, is not clearly supported, then we know the repercussions that will come after that. Yeah. And that is the cycle we are trying to break. I want us to talk about, you know, what is it that is included in the package of some of the support that you give to such vulnerable, you know, groups? What is it that you give to the children or the women who come to the center? What is it that you've done so far?
We have done a lot. when it comes to that. But I want to speak a little bit about the current situation now, because I don't want to dwell so much in the past. The past was at least. Now we are heading to the difficult life. I think you're living in this country, and you see, I see news every day, I watch news every day. The life is becoming more difficult to our people. Not only the vulnerable now, but almost everyone. Because now we are reaching a point that we have to live by ourselves. We are not going to care more about. But what can reduce this? The non-governmental organization must work with the government to work on how we can deal with this process that is going on now. Because number one, I cannot support everyone. I don't have the capacity. I cannot support all the children, all the women, all the widows, all the widowers. I know somebody will ask about the widowers. Yeah,
they also need support.
They need support. The people living with disability, they need support. But we cannot. But we have to speak hard on this for the government to do something better to help the situation before it gets worse. It's going to be worse, my sister, really worse. I'm out there, and my focus to this, about your question, I'm focusing to look all the ways, to find any way to start institution which can accommodate a number and train a number so that we can live with we can be self-reliant. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, tell us a little bit about how you also felt the impact of COVID-19. What difference did the pandemic bring to your going-ons, your running of business at the foundation? Because many, like I said, many other organizations actually could not survive to date.
Yeah.
Did you also experience the same?
I have a big experience about this, because most of my donors left because of the COVID. The COVID is all over. It is not only in our country. So it is really having a big impact. The economy is really bad. When the economy is bad, there's no business. I told you that I'm doing some small business. It is not moving. And now, what has been helping me a lot is some of my friends in the US. They still support. Some run away because of Corona. They cannot have enough to send. And I know when things get well, they will help. But we have a challenge. And by the time we have a challenge, I want to talk specifically about me, not even about the ministry now. What's the price of the fuel today?
Around 122.
Around 122. Yesterday I saw we are still borrowing money. Who is going to pay this money back if already 1.7 million people lost their job? Over millions are widows and orphans. They don't have job, you know. So this thing is affecting each and every person. It's affecting an individual. Because even if I'm supporting the widows and the orphans, I have a family to support. I cannot go support everybody, then my family has nothing to eat. So I'm speaking like as a Kenyan now. If we don't have collecting responsibility as Kenyans and with the government, then I don't know where Kenya is heading to. I don't know. I don't know where Kenya is heading to. We are heading to a big hole that is going to consume all of us. And Kenya is going to remain for one or two people. Yeah. So we need to think as a Kenyan that even if it is difficult, what can we do to support our people, to support wananchi wa Kenya? Because we are citizen to this country. Apart from all that we are doing, we are citizen to this country. We are not going to support ourselves. We are not going to do that. We are going to be, like now, we have many addiction. We have youths getting involved to drugs because they have nothing to do. We have many women getting into drugs because they are trying to kill their brain. They want their brain to sleep. We have many people who are committing suicide. We have because of the economy. We have many people who drop out of school because there's no finances to pay for the school. You know, the government, our government is assuming that life is normal. It's not normal at all. 3 weeks ago, before the third round of COVID, our people are campaigning in the street while people are dying with corona. You know, while people are sleeping without food, Why, when people were having no houses, when people cannot afford to pay the school fee, you know? So we have to think as a country now. If I leave about the organization, we need to think as a country now to look for the way forward. Before we go into many things, our beloved president, our beloved leaders, they have to come again now and stop politics, and then we pray for this country, and then we look the way forward to help this country.
Perhaps let's begin by looking at where probably we went wrong, and how is it that we are here today in terms of the economy and the state of the economy in the country. From where you sit, Newton, if you look at how things have panned out over time since the outbreak of COVID-19, how do you analyze the causes of the bad situation in the economy today? What could be the contributing factor?
The contributing factor, I may say, not even it's Corona. Before Corona, we were still living almost the same way. And Kenya is a growing country.
Were we okay before COVID?
We were not okay, because I'm working with people. So it is COVID. COVID had some value in it.
It played a role.
It played a role in it. But the corruption in this country is the first disease more than Corona. The Corona is just a virus, but we have the worst virus called corruption. When I talk about corruption, we Kenyans, we understand that as we speak now, we borrowed a lot of money, and we cannot account for all this money. If you go through the audit now, we will never account for this. Last year, I saw it in the TV that the Corona money was stolen, while the poor Mwananchi is being arrested because cannot afford to buy a mask of 10 shillings. I heard the Corona money was stolen, while the police was arresting our people in the street because they cannot have the mask. The person that is being arrested because of mask is the same person who has nothing to eat in the evening. They are walking to go and find something to eat in the evening. So this rain started beating us long time ago. Now we are hiding in this Corona. But if we were a steady government, number one, we could have been giving offer to the companies which have been employing many people. When I was in America last year, one of my friends who is doing his own business in a company, he employed people. The government was giving him back money because he sustained his workers. The government was supporting him to pay his workers. Here is a case that the government cannot afford to feed a child in the street. I'm not abusing my government. I love my government. But there's a corruption way. There's many things. I had my president, beloved president, I love President Uhuru Kenyatta, talking about corruption. But I've never seen anybody in jail today with the corruption issues. But I know the people who are in jail today because they stolen chicken. If we don't fight with this corruption, we will never fight with Corona. For example, number one, the economy is worse. Today I wake up in one of the hotels where I slept. I went to take a breakfast, and I cannot sit. I can only buy takeaway.
Takeaway, yeah, true.
In the matatu, we have 20 people coming to town. Matatu is really tiny. But a big restaurant, we cannot sit and have a breakfast. We are killing the business in this country. And then we are the same people who are crying that now the economy is bad.
So what option do we have then? Because the measures that were put in place were actually geared towards averting the spread of COVID-19. To sort of partially lock down the economy was part of those measures. I mean, did we have any option? We have option.
We have a lot of option. The government need to give out the money for everybody to be, how do you call it? To be chanjo. How do we call it? Vaccination. We need the government to bring out money to vaccinate its people, its country people. Then after the vaccination, now we are free to do our business because
Does it mean that now we are out of the woods? Once we're vaccinated, we can now go on and live our normal lives?
Why do we have vaccination? We have it because I think it prevents, maybe. So if we did the vaccination now, then now we need to learn how to live with corona, because the corona is not going away anyway soon. We have to learn how to live with corona because it's there. But we cannot learn how to live with corona when the economy is falling apart. Yeah. Now the owners of the hotels, what are they getting now? They get nothing. They get zero. Those who have been working there daytime, they lost their job. By the time they lost their job, you tell them to go and stay in their houses. They have rent to pay every month. The landlords will never understand that you are not working. They need their money because they invested the money. Some people have loan. You know, so we have to find a way of living with corona. We have to find a way of preventing, even mask. When I was in our small town in the Yugis, I saw some old women running away because they don't have the mask. They cannot afford to pay the mask. What is the government doing about this? Can we find a way that we can go back to our county governments to get money, to give masks? Or can we have a way of introducing some small companies which can make masks and give for free to the people in the community? So that we cannot have 10 shillings to buy a mask and we lack what we are going to eat. So if we don't fight with the corruption, like I said before, those who run away with the corona money, are they in court? Is there any investigation?
I think the investigations are underway. They're
1 year now.
Ongoing.
1 year. Investigation for somebody who's stolen government money is 1 year. The investigation for somebody who's stolen a chicken is 1 day. We are going wrong.
I agree with you. Something needs to be done to fast track some of these.
We have to fight with the corruption.
Yeah.
Then we have to fight on how we can live with corona. Then we can build up our economy.
All right. Talking about building up the economy, when you look at us as a populace, as a people, what is it that we need to do for us to be independent, to be self-reliant going forward? Because I sort of see a situation where we are more dependent on other factors. We are not generating income. We depend on other factors. How do we, come up with an economy that can thrive even during such a trying time as during COVID?
If I was one of the government officials or officers, the thing that we need to discuss there at the parliament is not about to change the constitution, but it's about how we can build industries in our country for us to manufacture many items that we can sell to other neighboring countries. So instead of us importing even matchbox, we need to export. You see, when we export, then now the country will grow. I want to give you a very simple example. If we are manufacturing things here, the employment will start from the ground because we are going to employ the cleaner. We are going to employ the security. We are going to employ those who understand the production. We are going to employ those who are selling. We are going to employ the vehicles which are doing, we are going to employ drivers to take our things to various marketplaces. Then now the economy will grow. But when you live in the times of borrowing everything and you import everything, my friend, you are killing the country. You are killing yourself. If you are living in the community as I do now, and I'm buying skuma wiki, I'm buying onion, I'm buying everything, there's nothing like growth in my family. There are things that I have to do myself to produce for the family, then I can buy little.
The rest.
When you buy little and you produce more, then now you can sell to the people who have not produced. And then from there you get income. Then the economy will grow. But now we are doing nothing. We are killing even those who open their small business, who are producing things. If you go to the tax, try to start a business today. The tax collectors will be in your door before you sell a single cent. The following day you will see them there and they will lock that door. But when you open it, you will have to employ somebody. This somebody will be a beneficiary to their families. But that is not working in Kenya. In Kenya, what works good is politics. That's why you see many people are stealing to go and vie for a political position because there's money there. But I think we need to turn around. If I could have time to meet with my president, I can tell him this point blank. Let us borrow money not to build the roads, but let's borrow money to build the companies that we can now, because even if you build roads from Uganda to Rwanda, I mean Kenya to Rwanda to Uganda, what will you drive in that road if you don't have money? If the fuel is 120 shillings per liter, will you drive in that road? The answer is no. But when we build the companies, now we need the road because now we can do business. Well, let us not build things to import things, but let us build our economy to export, and we get enough money to sustain our country. Yeah.
So focus should be on job creation.
Job creation.
Job creation for the population.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, let me just take you back to those who are vulnerable in the community a little bit. You interact with them, you share in their plight, you talk to them. Right now, during this pandemic, what are they telling you? How is the situation for the women, the children, and those who are vulnerable in the society? How different is it for them?
Monday in the morning when I wake up, I found some women. They are coming every day into my house. One of them told me, I am here just for food. I don't need anything, but I need food. The life is difficult. The life is difficult to these vulnerable people. These people are going without food 2 to 3 days. They drink porridge, only that is what can be available. They eat vegetables sometimes without ugali, because that is what they can get for free. The life is not easy there with these people. And I am praying so hard that I'm looking any way forward to find a way of how we can take these people to some other trainings so that they can sell their products and they can survive, because the life is not easy. Yeah, it is not.
Yeah, true. Especially now, because, you know, before probably people would be able to chip in here and there, but right now everyone is facing a very difficult time, and very few, like yourself, would come out and still extend that helping hand to such populations.
Yes.
I'd just like us to, quickly before we take a break, you just tell us currently how many children, how many women, you know, do you have?
At the orphanage, the children that stay there are 40. Then I have a number that I'm supporting from outside. That one I don't have the correct number, because the exact number, because there are many. And the widows that I'm taking care of are 600 and over. And the ones that we are feeding are more than 1,000. So the number is big. And then I have the disabled. I have disabled people that I'm trying, like every 2 or 3 months I have to provide food for them, because I can't provide every month, but I'm trying to reach them out with whatever little that I have. And then I have youths. I have many youths who are there. They don't have a job. They have nothing to do. I'm trying to train them. I have a workshop somewhere. I take in some to train on carpentry, welding, and now I'm opening a tailoring section so that I can accommodate these young women and the youths. Yeah.
What do you use as a criteria to select who should be a boarder, who should be a day scholar?
Before, when I start taking in the children, the orphans, I had to work with the local authority, local government authority. I worked with chief, I worked with the village elders, and me personally, I went to their home areas, because I was like, tell me whom you think is really vulnerable. And you know, people are sneaky. Sometimes somebody will bring his or her children. But I took a responsibility myself to go and see. So I visited these homes and I choose those who I can live with. And there are people that I can only support because they are not badly off. Yeah, they are not like the same. Yeah, they have a home, they have a safe, they have some uncles who are actually taking care of them a little bit. They have some grandee who actually help them. But there are some that they have nothing. Even when we close, we take them to their relatives, because you have to take them back. Even the life is difficult. You have to show them where their land is and their relatives. I have those who cannot go anywhere because I have to live with them. I have to stay with them. I'm their dad. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. We'll be having this conversation right after this particular break. Today we are talking about caring for the vulnerable. In studio I'm hosting Newton Onyango Ogada, the founder God Will Provide International right here in Kenya. We are talking about more the touch on what this population is going through, especially during this third wave of COVID-19 that has come with quite some number of economic impacts on almost everybody in the society. We continue this conversation after the break.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Pleasure will never accept you. She will do everything she can to make your life miserable. Until she destroys you the way she destroyed your mother. You don't know how much I would like to ask him openly about replacing Ouma now. But it might cause a crisis. No, you can't expose him. Nothing like that.
I feel so helpless not being able to kiss you anytime I want to or need to.
I know.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Now we upon nobody forgive my motivation. Me I gonna make it out this sticky situation. Have to believe in myself.
Goodbye to the region again. To achieve anything again. Goodbye to the children again. Another children.
Close my eyes are falling to memories. In the street, they call it murder.
On January 18, 1989, I died. When I woke up, I was in heaven. The man in the red Ford is deceased. I'd like to pray for him.
He's alive. Yeah,
Your husband is very badly injured. We are doing everything we can to save him.
I'm so scared. God, please help us.
You know, it's gonna be tough, but I need you. I'm all I'm ready to die.
Welcome back, and thank you so much for staying with us. In case you're just joining us, this is News Check, a program that seeks to explore issues that are shaping conversation in the country, and we welcome you to be part of the program. Today we are talking about caring for the vulnerable in the society. I'm talking about the widows, I'm talking about the orphans and the vulnerable children. Some call it OVCs. And of course, this is a population that has been hardest hit by the impacts of COVID-19 during this particular time that we have seen several children's home closing down, orphanages closing down, and welfare organizations that support such vulnerable populations also just closing down because they could not stay afloat. And we are just talking about the way forward and how to think about a lasting solution on how to support such a population. And in studio to help me have this conversation, I've been having this sit down with Newton Onyango Ogada, the founder of God Will Provide Foundation International in Kenya. Thank you so much, Newton, for staying on. Of course, earlier before we took the break, you had just, told us more about what you do as an organization and even generally how the country has suffered courtesy of the COVID-19 pandemic and what you think would be the dose to help us going forward. But I'd just like us to also talk about some of the things that you'd like society to be sensitive to. The reason I asked you, how this population has been hardest hit during this COVID is because I wanted society to understand their plight. What would you say right now to somebody who is watching this particular program? And yes, they're dealing with their own issues, but then what's the importance of them still reaching out to such women and children?
Yeah, what I'm telling our members that what you have is enough to share. You have to learn how to share when it is not enough to you. When you share when you feel it's not enough to you, then God will reward you and God will help you out, because in everything that we are doing, God is still there for us. So let us not be like, I have enough for myself. In the Bible, there's Elisha who went to a family who was having only the food left of one day. And the Bible says that the lady shared with Elisha and God provided more. So whenever you share with your neighbor, with the people who have problems, God is there, God is watching. Let us not be selfish in a way that we take everything for ourselves. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we need to learn how to share. We need to learn how to work with people. We need to learn how we can be happy when other people are blessed because of us. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't have to have extra.
You don't need to have extra to give. There's no point of having extra. I've never had extra though.
Many think you have because now you're helping, so maybe you have more than enough, more than you need. That's the perception.
It is not much you have.
Yeah.
It is what in your heart. When your heart is big, you will care for everything. You will care. When I went to driving school, I was taught to care for anything which is crossing the road. So long as it's a living thing, I have to care for it. We need to care for each and every opportunity that God has given to you. We need to care for these families, because when you support with the little that you have, God is seeing your heart, and He will never leave you without money, without food, without anything. Yeah.
In this 9-year journey, what's the most unfortunate case you have handled, or a low moment for you in your ministry, in what you do? What would you term as that one time you experienced a case or you visited a family, just something that was really unfortunate from your perspective?
Every December 25th and 1st, I don't celebrate with my children, but I drive around to give food to the vulnerable families. 2019, I was handing out food. I visited one of an old man guy in his home. He was around 80 years old, and I think he had an accident through motorbike, so he could not stand up. He was laying in bed. The bed was only a mat, and his wife is blind, and they lost their 9 children. So when I went there, he told me to go around the house and to see the grave of 9 children. And then he told me that his wife, who is blind, is the one who is going to Oyugis town to ask for people to give food.
To beg for help?
To beg for help. Then when she comes back, she's the one who have to cook. I witnessed this, and I was too emotional, because it was not just a simple thing to see. And I asked God many questions, that, God, why am I alive to see all these things? I was trying to fit in the same shoe. If it was me,
what would you have done?
What exactly, yeah. When I went to because it was a single room, there's no door. They just put something like, I don't know how to call it. There was nothing in the house. So I had to chip in on building the house and buying new bed and mattress and making the house a little bit clean and buying everything. I counted that as a blessing to me, because he has neighbors, and nobody has ever thought of doing anything. Another situation, I went to Rangwe, next to Rangwe town there. I found a woman who lost 13 children, and she was living in a very bad house, and she was sleeping down. I found a snake next to where she's sleeping, and she was blind.
She didn't know?
She didn't know, because she only touched when she's going to sleep. So I was too emotional, because I could not take it. I was like, what if this is my mother? I died, all my brothers died, and now this is the situation where my mother is living. It was too difficult to me. But I thank God I saw some funding. I built a house, I bought a mattress. I employ somebody now to take care of her, who is under employment that I'm paying money. So I send food, I send money for food, I always visited this lady every frequent. Another one, I was driving, and I found another old lady, around 70 years old, living in a single room, rental single room house. It is mud. It's the mud house. I was like, what are you doing here? She told me, it is a long story, I cannot explain. I say, Ma'am, explain to me. I get out from the car, I start talking with her. She told me that my husband died, my in-laws sent me away from the land. When I went to work at Kericho, I had an accident, and I lost my job. When I was given some little money, I came back, I ate all the money, I started selling things in my house. I sold my chairs, I sold my table, I remained with selling my bed, then I die. Then I say, no, you are not going to die, Mommy. I will take care of you.
The bed is the only thing now she has.
She has. So I had to come in, build a house for her, then equip the house. Then I put her under medication because she was having arthritis, she was having pressure, she was having a lot of collective diseases. So being we have an hospital, so I told my CEO to take care of this woman, that every now and then you go check, you go give medication. And I employed another person, my employee, that you have to check on the status of food. So these are the cases that I've been meeting when I'm doing the work down there. 2017, I went to Mandera, and 2018, I met challenges in Mandera. I found a young, beautiful, a young, handsome boy who was burned in the house during clashes, and his fingers were stuck this way. Another one was having cancer. I brought these kids to, I took one to Kenyatta Hospital, I took one to Kijabe Hospital. Unfortunately, the one who was in Kenyatta Hospital died. And he called me a day before he died, and I drove all the way from Ouma Bay to here, and he told me, I'm feeling better, may God bless you. He was a Muslim. Then before I reached home, when I was going back, I got a phone call that he passed away.
Yeah.
The other one got treated, he went through surgery, he is alive. So I've been passing a lot of challenges that I personally know the challenges that I'm passing on. So it is a long journey.
And the list can go on and on.
The list can go on, and I cannot count all of them because the list is big.
So what I'm getting from this, helping is not an event. Like what many people do, even across the streets, this boy comes to you and they ask you for money for food, and all you do is give them money for food. It's not an event. No. It's something you have to go. It's a journey. You have to walk with these people.
I believe that I will walk this journey until I die because I cannot leave it. I cannot do any job. I have specific offices that I need to be in. Like I have my office, I have a school, I have an hospital, but I don't even sit in those offices. Well, before I go to the field, I don't feel that I'm working. I have to go and continue visiting, and I have a list, I have the numbers. Every year I do major feeding for all my clients. Last December I was having almost 2,000 people that I was feeding. You know, so it is not an event. It is a continuous process that you have to do each and every single day. Yeah.
What keeps you going? What keeps you have that confidence that I'm in the right path, I'm doing the right thing? When you're having that quiet time, what is it that gives you that assurance that this is it?
First is a desire. I desire. Second, it is godly. Feed. When I was hungry, you gave me food. When I was sick, you treated me. When I was in jail, you visited me. That keeps me going. Yeah, because it is in the Bible. I'm not doing something against the Bible. I'm doing something which is touching God's heart. Because God said that those who take care of the orphan, or the widows and orphans, touch his heart. You know. Yeah, so I'm fulfilling what is in the Bible. You know. So I feel that I'm in the right track. Yeah. I feel, I don't want to talk bad against those who are only giving once, or they're giving offerings to church, or those who, I've seen many pastors, many churches, they take I don't want to be against them. They are doing good in their own way. But I'm doing good in my own way. That I learn not to receive, but I learn to give. So whenever I have friends in America, sometimes they send me money, like Newton. We have seen what you're doing. I want to give you your personal money. Even last week, I received somebody send me personal money. But I have never used it in my personal issues.
So this is like yours now. It's not for the ministry.
It is not. Yeah, I receive a lot of money. Yeah, exactly.
Spending it in the
people
ministry.
send me good money. I'm not badly off, because I have friends who say, Newton, you are doing a lot to the ministry. I want to bless you with $1,000. That is 100,000. And whenever I get this money, it is not even mine. I run to build a house. I run to give food. I run to buy clothes for the children. I always on my way going, because what do I need? I have a car that I'm driving. I have my house. I have a family. Then I have food every day. So why do I have to keep some money that is for my personal need? I thank God they give me for personal need. But my personal need is to give and to support the vulnerable people in the community. Yeah. So.
Must you have like is it a special calling or a special experience for you to be such a giver as yourself, or anybody in the society actually needs to take up this challenge?
It's a God-given. I can't count.
Not for everyone.
It's not for everyone.
Okay.
It's a God-given. I cannot count myself as a good giver to everyone, but I only appreciate the work of God that is allowing me to have some sort of finances to support the vulnerable in the community. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And we really appreciate, I wish you had more people like you in the society. But one thing though, Newton, there's also a lot of mistrust that people have had when it comes to some organizations that have come up. There's been talk about others being commercialized, others using the vulnerable for their selfish gains. Do you meet such cases?
Yes. People rejected me. People talk bad about me, and people think that I'm misusing the funds that I'm receiving. I don't care about what people are saying, because people are born with politics. The people who are opposing what we are doing or what other people are doing, if I ask them a simple question, have they supported their own family? Because these vulnerable people, they are all over. Even your neighbor is vulnerable. Yeah. But you will find I go to build a house for a widow, and somebody saying that money comes from the devil worshipper. You are a God worshipper, but you have never supported this family in this situation. Then the devil is better than God if you know that way. Because I know that the God that we are serving will help the situation. Not that the God that we are serving, we only belong to God when we are really poor.
But do we have some unscrupulous people who have taken advantage of the plight of the vulnerable?
Yes,
as well?
we have many. That's why they are closing now. Because I can tell you, they ran ministry for 20 years, but what they have is big rental houses in Kisumu, in Nairobi, in Mombasa. But if you visited their homes, you can't imagine that they are the same people who are owning big homes. I wish you can visit my organization. You will like it. Because I take 100% of the money I'm getting there. And again, we have the people who just operate as a business. You know, we have those who do business with people. We have those who do business with church. The church is just something, but their houses are like the king's houses. Yeah, so their vehicles, if you see the vehicle that they park next to the church, you don't get it right. The same, we have those who take advantage of this support that God has given us to give. Yeah.
I don't know whether there are gaps probably that needs to be filled to, you know, sort of weed out such rogue, I would say, in quotes, philanthropic people who come in the name of helping, yet they are taking advantage of the vulnerable. But we'll have that conversation in a bit. Right now, we are getting some very unfortunate news this morning. Just news that is getting into the newsroom this morning is that 15 people have perished in a grisly road accident at Kwamkikuyu area along Mombasa Highway. This early morning accident involved Muhsin bus that was heading from Mombasa to Malindi, and a Sabaki minibus heading to Mombasa from Marireni area. The drivers of both buses, we understand, died on the spot. And of course, several employees of Kilifi County government also perished in this particular road carnage. This is news we are just getting, that eyewitnesses who actually were there say that the Garissa-bound bus was overtaking and lost control, hitting the Sabaki shuttle. The injured were rushed to the hospital by the police, Red Cross, well-wishers, and the bodies of the deceased have been taken to Malindi mortuary. We will be giving you more updates as we receive concerning this particular incident, but it's news that is just in this particular morning. We're receiving news that 15 people have perished in a grisly road accident at Kwamkikuyu area along Mombasa Highway. This early morning accident involved a Muhsin bus heading from Mombasa to Malindi and a Sabaki minibus heading to Mombasa from Marereni area. Drivers of both buses, we understand, died on the spot. Several employees of Kilifi County government also perished in the road carnage. According to eyewitnesses, the Garissa-bound bus was overtaking and lost control, hitting the Sabaki shuttle. The injured were rushed to the hospital, and of course the bodies of the deceased have been taken to Malindi mortuary. We're going to be giving you more details as soon as we receive concerning this accident that has just claimed the lives of 15 people this particular morning at Kwamkikuyu area along Mombasa Highway. Of course, some unfortunate news there, but we just want to condole with the families of those who've lost their loved ones and move on having this conversation in studio. We are talking about caring for the vulnerable in the society. I'm having this conversation with Newton Ogada, the founder of God Will Provide Foundation. Thank you so much for staying on. So we were talking about some people who have come into this as a business venture, taking advantage of the vulnerable. You understand the registration process and the protocols it took you to set up your home and to register it. Perhaps did you notice any gaps, any loopholes, something that needs to be done differently to weed out those who actually coming into this for the wrong reasons?
You know, you cannot tell the mind of a person when it comes to registration and when it comes to the will of serving the community. I think the government is doing right to register a number, because you cannot tell who is wrong and who is right. Mm-hmm. But I have a simple answer to that question, that God will punish them. Because even if we do accountability, the process is corrupt in a way. The system is corrupt in a way. The person who is coming to do audit, they can be corrupted. So they will never give the right report about what is happening in these institutions. So it is openly that what you do privately, God will see it openly. So there will be a time that you will be caught red-handed, and you will be having a lot of explanation. But even before that, we have a judgment coming. If you're using this money to your family or to yourself, the answer will be there soon. Yeah, God is above all. God is above all the courts. God is above all the administration. But you will be one day responsible for what you've done.
It's really unfortunate to take advantage of somebody who is going through so much, take advantage of the plight of a vulnerable person to earn money. It is
just even the same of the corrupt way of everything. Because when you are corrupt even in the government, the money that you are taking is for your country. Then this money was supposed to support a child in the school. So these people, whichever way, if you are corrupt in the name of supporting the vulnerable, or if you are corrupt in the name of your work in the government, the judgment is coming. Yeah, you will be there. Nobody will stand, but you will be there yourself. If you cannot be judged in the court of law, you will be judged in the most high court, and you will be responsible to everything that you did during your reign.
All right. Yeah. So Newton, we want to learn from your own experience and your strategies that you've employed. Many such organizations depend more on donor funding. Perhaps that's why many of them did not have that ability to stay afloat during this particular time. What is it that you have done different in the sense of making you be able to, keep going over the years, to be self-reliant, to be independent? What is working for you? Where are you getting your funds from, for instance?
Yes, As per now, I'm only 9 years old in this work, and it's the same 9 years I've been building the orphanage, I've been building the school, and now I'm coming up with an hospital. It has been not easy to strategize on one project that bring money every day. But I as the director, I had a plan 4 years ago. Then that's why I started the school. So the school is not only for the orphans, but even other people will bring their children and pay. And the money that we are going to get from other people, other parents, will help me run the orphanage, because all the kids will eat at the school, they will learn at the school, and any collection that I'm going to get will help me run the organization without donor funding. We have a lot of diseases in the country that makes people die, makes the project be difficult to run. I've been doing major medical camps that sometimes I have 20 nurses, doctors from America coming to the country. I've been doing this for years now. And we realized a big need for health. That's why I started the hospital. Now we have Beryl's Medical Center in Oyugis. I think it's coming to be the best hospital. And this hospital is taking care of the vulnerable and the people who can pay. So like now I'm working to get registered with NHIF. The money that I will receive from the hospital will help me support the ministry in Kenya. In other way, paying salaries, in other way, feeding all these vulnerable people, in other way, to maintain what God has given to us. So that's the way that I'm heading to now. But as we speak, the school is running, we start receiving some income, and it helped me pay the teachers. Yeah.
What's the danger of depending on donors, solely for running such an organization?
Donor is an individual, is a person. Donor can die. Donor can leave the support. Like now we lost some donors because of Corona. It's a big danger, because when you depend on only a donor, when donor run away, when something happened between you and the donor, then your project is dead. So you must have some income generating activity under your organization to support what God has given to you. Yeah.
When you close down, for instance, like some have done, what impact is this having on the people that, were there, the children, the women, the families are probably dependent on such organizations? How big of a problem is it?
It's like you lose your parents twice, because this person is an orphan. You take care of him for 5 years, then you leave him. This person become an orphan again. They might go back to bad situation of life. Some will go back to drug addiction. Some will be even thieves, because they cannot support themselves. So that's why I said running an institution of like an orphanage or vulnerable cases, you need to seek a lot of experience, and you need to thank God, and you need to pray a lot, so that He gives you the wisdom to do it, not to fail. And a lot of the time, if God started it, it will never fail. You will struggle, but you will always succeed. God will never give you that chance, that gap of failing. But those who are failing are not saying that they are not godly people. But sometimes they don't have the management skills of how they can survive without the donor funding. Like I told you when I started, I have a workshop that I'm doing a personal business. This business money, I always use it when time is difficult to me in the organization. Again, I'm trying to train, like now I have boys who are finishing class 8, they are going to secondary. After they finish secondary, those who cannot go to university, I will take them to technical courses, so that after a few months or few years, they can be self-reliant and they can take back to their community.
The numbers of, those who are in need of help is getting bigger and bigger by the day, especially if you look at the children who are becoming orphaned by the day. I don't know, from your region probably, what seems to be the problem with even our communities, our societies? What is it that probably we need to do so that because we cannot help everybody, we cannot keep up this, trend of support. How then do we become proactive?
You have to practice being self-reliant, not only to look for money, because what gives us a big number is HIV. It kills a number, and then these kids remain orphans day by day. We need to practice being being good in a way that you know it is your life. You know, you don't share your life with anybody. You share your life by with yourself. So if we stop doing things which are not right, then we will reduce the death rate. And again, the poverty, it's giving us a lot of challenge. When there's poverty, anybody can do anything to survive. And this bring a lot of problems in the community when it comes to the life. We have some people who are just dying because they don't know. They have malaria, they cannot treat it until they die. We have the people that are dying because of negligence. And this is bring a lot of, a big number into this. So what I'm just praying to do, if we can, if the government, because now the health is devolved, we have the county government which is dealing with the health. If I send it to the county government, even in Ouma Bay, because that is my county, I can speak, there are no medicine. There are a lot of things that are lacking. In the process, like we had strike. We lost many lives because of that. And that contributes a lot of orphans in the community. So before we do anything, we need to go back to our county level, because health is devolved, to deal with such kind of negligence. Because some are just coming up because of we don't have medicine at the hospital, we don't have, there is a strike, we cannot do this test, so go to Eldoret. When you are being sent to Eldoret referral and you have no money to eat in your house, what next? You'll be taken back to your house and you die the following day. And it's something simple that can be helped. Something that can be treated. So we as Kenyan, we are appealing to the government to be a little bit serious about the health, because the health is taking us to loss of the parents, and then now we have many orphans.
Do you sometimes get cases of human rights violations for the children or the widows? Have you handled cases where you had to go beyond just giving them support for food, for giving them a roof over their head, and just getting into the legal system and helping them access justice in one, two, three things?
We have tried, and I took some cases in court. Sometimes it's difficult to talk about it because I don't want to talk about the court cases. Something which is in court, you're allowed to talk about it.
True.
But sometimes they are not passing on well because nobody is to follow up as such, and people bribe their way to the system.
But do we have such human rights violations?
Yeah, we have them. They are trying. I can say they are trying. Because even in my organization, I have one child who was violated, and I have him. He's now growing. Is now growing to be an adult now. Yeah, but I took him when he was really young. Yeah, so they're trying to help out. Yeah.
All right. A lot is happening, of course, and I'd just like to take our viewers through some of the things that the government has done, and then, Newton, you can tell me whether this is adequate or not, or what needs to be changed. The government of Kenya has actually recognized that the institution of family is best for the proper growth and socialization of children, and has emphasized on interventions for the orphaned and vulnerable children at the household level. So there's this, thing we call the National Plan of Action for OVCs that the government, came up with, and this plan actually identified quite a number of priority strategic areas as key for the orphaned and vulnerable children as part of the interventions. And this include strengthening the capacity of families to protect and care for the OVCs, mobilizing and supporting community-based interventions, and of course ensuring access for OVCs to essential services which include education, healthcare, birth registration, psychological support, and legal protection. Other things also it focused on is ensuring improved policy and legal framework are in place to protect the most vulnerable children in the society, and of course creating a supportive environment for children and families affected by HIV and AIDS, strengthening and supporting national coordination and institutional structures for OVCs, and also strengthening national capacity to monitor and evaluate OVC program effectiveness and quality. From what I've just shared, I don't know whether there are gaps you still feel need to be filled, but one thing that stood out for me, though, which has become quite a challenge for many children who fall in this category, is the birth registration process. And just knowing and identifying myself and saying that I come from this family, I come from this region, many of them end up even just not having a place they call home. They don't even know who their parents are. Do you experience difficulties in the registration process of some of these children that you take on board?
Yes, it's a challenge to me, because even now I have 2 children who has no birth certificate, because I have to appeal and go swear in court. We have many cases. Me personally, the year 2020, 2019, 2018, I've registered more than 20,000 children. I paid for their birth certificates. And I was having a big challenge when it comes to registration. Most of the government programs, they announce them in the top office, but they're not reaching people down there. I thank the government because they put everything in place. They put the offices, they set everything. But when it comes to reaching out the people, I may say we are a little bit poor on it. We have not reached a level of reaching in individual. Even the statistics, they only have it because they have death certificate of the parents if the family took the burial permit. But we have cases that people die in their houses and they're being buried within 72 hours. These people, nothing like burial permit, nothing like death certificate. I'm sure they don't know about all this.
There's no documentation.
There's no documentation
to prove anything.
I have a number of many children who are born and their parents died without birth certificates because they were born in the houses.
They didn't go to the hospital.
They didn't go to the hospital. So the statistics is not bad. They are trying in a certain level, but they are failing in a certain level. I used to tell people how I do things. I don't sit in the office to wait for my staff to go and work out. I go there myself. Then I have the correct answer. You see, the government is trying and they employ a number to do the work, but they are going to the offices. So
it's top bottom. It stays at the top.
Exactly, yeah.
It needs to start from the bottom.
From the bottom. You know, for example, if I'm the government, I want to know the proper statistic on how many children we have. It's very easy. I will go to the chief. I will tell chief to tell the village elders. Village elders will work with village administrators, and then we will get the answer immediately, because the village elder is living with the person who is having a problem. You know, so it's very easy. But they don't do it formally. They just say, they announce. After announcing, it ends there. Nobody's taking care of it again. We have many challenges, and again, it's not the fault of the people who are down there. It's being announced that we should be taking this and this. But you know what's happening? There's no funding there to reach out these people. Because these officers cannot walk to go. Sometimes they have vehicles, they have motorbikes, but they don't have fuel. You see? So we announce it. Some people have radio, some people have TV, some people have no radio and TV. They don't know nothing about
the
what
information is not
reaching everybody, because they have not released the funds. I don't know if it's being released from the national government, but when it reached down there, it's not reaching out the people.
When you talk like this, I'm asking myself, then how is the public-private partnership happening? I mean, do you have any engagements with the government? Because you seem to be knowing exactly what is happening on the ground. Do you have sit-downs? Do you have forums where you share this? And how is that going?
We have been called by even the DCC when we have meetings, the challenges. Like last year when we had this early pregnancy, I was taking care of it in my area because I was elected to chair the meeting. The government announced, the president announced that the early pregnancy will be judged by the chiefs. He is going to judge the chiefs and the assistant chiefs. And now the chiefs are worried how to go about this. I think you guys saw it. I think everybody...
Chiefs are going to be responsible
for this
any girl
effect.
Who gets pregnant in their region. We heard that loud and clear.
Yeah, it was like, how will the chief be responsible?
Yeah.
The chief was supposed to be responsible because he has to work with the local leaders like village elders. You know, how will you work with the village elders? What is the cause of under a child to get pregnant? The cause is they lack sanitary towels. They go to these motorbike riders to become their boyfriends, to give them 50 shillings to buy the towels. You see? When they go, then they get pregnant, they get HIV, they get formal of diseases. You know? Chief is not responsible because the same government should provide the sanitary towels for the needy girls. It's a girl child education, a girl child right. We are talking about it all the time. Talking it here sometimes may not help, but we need to have allocation of funds that goes direct to the girl child so that they can be protected on getting involved on such kind of things. You know, so we speak it in a higher level, but nobody is nobody's finding out why this girl got involved into this practice which make her to be pregnant today. We were talking about addiction. The chief will be responsible for the boys or the girls who are addicted or are getting into drugs
and alcoholism.
The chief is a human like me. He has time to sleep with his family. He has time to go back to his house. These people sneak. Why? You know, so it is a collective responsibility that everybody must get involved to. The leadership, the family, the parents, the non-governmental organization must come up together for us to do to synthesize that it is illegal to do this, but this is the way forward. Last year, I think I called some of leaders in our county government. They accepted, they came, and we reached out to many girls. I have training every week. I got some girls who were pregnant. Some were in class 7, some were in Form 2 and Form 3. We counseled them. And now some are going back to school, some are delivered already. And those who are not affected are okay because we had time to teach and talk with them. When I was going to that process, some cases were being coming up because of the parents. There's no friendship between the children and their parents. So the children, they have no right to tell the parents what is happening in their life, you see? So these are things that bring up the issues down there in the ground, yeah.
So how do you, back to my question, how do you rate the level of engagement between the government and private players like yourself, you know, that would inform solution-oriented policies and interventions?
We have good relation between us and the government, but the government, these things, they involve funding. They call you, they speak with you. Our government care, but the money is not there to do the work. So they always tell us, you please help us. And even us, we have a lot of burden
already on the other side.
On the other side.
All right,
yeah.
Newton, we'll continue having this conversation in just a bit. I just want to bring our viewers up to speed with some unfortunate news that we have received this particular morning, that at least 15 people have perished in a grisly road accident. This is information we are receiving, that at least 15 people have perished in a grisly road accident at Kwamkikuyu area along Mombasa Highway. This is an early morning incident that involved a Muhsin bus heading from Mombasa to Malindi. That is actually the information you are receiving. The pictures you're seeing on your screen is the scene of that particular accident that happened this particular morning, claiming the lives of at least 15 people at Kwamkikuyu area along Mombasa Highway. And it involved two buses, a Muhsin bus, which was heading from Mombasa to Malindi, and Sabaki minibus heading to Mombasa from Marereni. We understand that drivers of both buses died on the spot, and several employees of Kilifi County government also perished in this road carnage. It's information we are receiving this morning. And eyewitnesses are saying that the Garissa-bound bus was overtaking and lost control, hitting the Sabaki shuttle. The injured were rushed to the hospital by the police, Red Cross and well-wishers. The bodies of the deceased, we understand, are currently at Malindi mortuary. We are going, of course, to be staying very close to this particular story for you. It's a developing story. It's a road accident that has claimed the lives of at least 15 people. An accident that happened at Kwamkikuyu area along Mombasa Highway this particular morning. Two buses, a Muhsin bus and a Sabaki minibus. The Muhsin bus was heading from Mombasa to Malindi. The Sabaki minibus was heading to Mombasa from Marereni. Eyewitnesses are saying that the Garissa-bound bus was overtaking and lost control and hit the Sabaki shuttle. So far, at least 15 people have died. Their bodies were taken to Malindi mortuary. and there are several people who are injured, and they were rushed to the hospital by the police, the Red Cross, and well-wishers who arrived at the scene of this particular accident. So some unfortunate news there. 15 people have perished in that grisly road accident that you see on your screens, and we'll be updating you on more information that we receive. Of course, it's a developing story that we are following up for you right here on KBC Channel 1. We are going to be giving you more details as soon as we receive about this accident. It is at Kwamkikuyu area along Mombasa Highway. Some really sad news there we're receiving this particular morning. An accident that has claimed the lives of at least 15 people. Of course, we are going to be staying very close to that story to update you on what is happening as it continues to develop throughout the day. But moving on in studio, we have been talking about caring for the vulnerable in the society. I'm having a sit down with Newton Ogada, the founder of God Will Provide Foundation. Thank you, Newton, for staying with us. And of course, we have shared quite a lot about this journey of 9 years and what you have learned and some of the strategies that you have employed to make this work and for you to be able to support the vulnerable in your community, the widows, the children. And I just want to understand during this COVID season, and there were quite a number of directives that were put in place, schools were closed. I don't know whether anything has changed in your institution concerning the protocols or just the directives that were issued. Has it adjusted things a little bit in your institution? Yes,
we had to do some adjustment. Like we have to put up strictly measures that concerning the disease out there. But I have I'm worried about something. The measures were put there for us to follow, but we have not been given money to work on the on the measures. Like for example, to implement like government school. They talked on a school desk. They talk on mask. They talk on building other classroom for to keep for the distance. But I've never seen any happening. I don't know how we are going to work out this, because the third wave is much worse than the first and the second wave. And we are still in the same situation as we speak. Me, I have worked well in my school. I'm trying to do a lot of things. I'm putting measures in order. But my worry is not about my school alone, because my school is only one. And what about other schools and government institutions? That is my worry. Good question. Yeah. We are going to pick it up from there after this particular break. Allow us to take a breather. We are coming back with much more. Do stay with us. This is News Check. Continue engaging us on social media at Serfine_Achieng on Twitter, Serfine Achieng on Facebook, and of course also on our official social media handles at KBC Channel 1. We are taking a very short break. We are coming back with much more.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
can I be a mute spectator? That is not possible. You should have been with Corvity. But where is Corvity?
I'm here.
This is where you would enter from. And as you get my signal, capture the queens, and then capture their sons, and then capture Bindusar.
Next on.
Kuna tabia nyingi sana za kusalimiana, kuwa mkuana.
Umekuwaje lakini? Ana nini bana? Nini bana? Msemaje na mse?
Nacheza barabarani alafu unaniuliza nini mbaya? Ngenigonga nianguke.
Ungeanguka tukuokote.
Nini mbaya?
Sasa msikiti raha tu mkono, mkono wako ni soft. Ah, pump. Ina jina.
Sana nzoa.
Salamu gani hizi za fujo?
Ni salamu ama ni kututandika makofi na kutandika wewe?
Ni salamu.
Kusalimiana kwa aina hiyo ni ungwana kweli?
Welcome back, and thank you so much for staying with us and for engaging us on social media. Just taking a few of your comments. Jackson Koba, you're watching us live from Mombasa County. We appreciate your time. Paul Mgesh watching from 044. Thank you so much, Paul. Sabila Tom Kotikoi watching from Somalia. Thank you so much for creating time. Michael Aringo watching. Thank you. Mahrez Dennis Kipkoech watching us from Mombasa. We appreciate your time. Thank you so much for interacting with us. Continue doing that. In case you have any questions, any comments. Today we are talking about caring for the vulnerable in the society. I'm talking to Newton Ogada, the founder of God Will Provide Foundation. And we are just discussing a lot that touch on how to be more sensitive to the plight of this vulnerable group and what is it that we need to give as a wholesome solution to what they are facing in the society. And Newton, before we took the break, we were talking about the COVID-19 situation and how it has adjusted things. You run a school, and I just probed you on whether, you had to do a few adjustments here and there, and you were lamenting over, lack of resources to, implement some of these COVID-19 protocols in the institutions. Just pick it up from there. From where we sit, we had, there was disbursement of funds to support schools and vulnerable schools to sort of implement these COVID-19 protocols. I don't know whether it got to you, and probably how should it have been done as a stakeholder?
Yeah, camera is not on. Yeah, what I can say that we did not receive the funding. I'm not talking about the non-governmental organization like me, but even the government schools. I remember in my area there were less schools which got like a few desks in their schools. The money was disbursed to the schools, but as I speak, they did not get enough. Most of schools have never built any extra classrooms. Most of schools have never got a mask for the children. Most of the schools have never got the sanitizer for the school. They put the parents again, the burden to the parents again, to buy masks for their children, to buy sanitizer for their children, and to I don't know how to go about this. And again, there's something that I'm missing. We as non-governmental organizations, like private-owned schools, there are many in Kenya. It's a big number. Like we are almost having a big number now, those who are own school. The government is not taking care of this private school. I remember during COVID, when all the schools were closed, we have a number that we employed, right? The teachers, the staff at the school. Nobody was paying them, but the government was paying their teachers. I hardly heard that there should be some money to be sent to the private sector to maintain or to sustain their teachers because they are underemployment. I'm one of the directors of schools. I did not receive any amount. And the children who are coming to our school, they belong to the country Kenya. So I don't know where we need to take this private institution when it comes to support from the government. Yeah. Yeah.
Could we afford to support all the private institutions in the country? Do we have the budget?
We need to have the budget because the children goes to private school, all the people work to the private sector, they are paying tax. I pay my staff are paying tax to the same government. When something comes for the people of Kenya, they should be getting something. There should be a percentage that we have to give to the private sector. Because they are. If at all now we close all the private sector in this country, where will we take all the children and where will we take all the workers? Because we employ many people. The private sector employ more than the government, and that is the fact. What if now the private sector say, no, we are no longer we are shutting down. Where will we take all these people? So the government should have a discussion on how they can support the private sector in any way. Yeah, because we need it. What if I close? I have around 80 workers. What if I close today? Where will they go? Where will their family benefit from? I have almost 250 kids in my school. I have other 40 orphans. What if I shut down today? And I'm not one person. We are very many. So the government should have a funding to the private institutions because we are giving more to the government. We are paying tax. We are paying everything that any other person is paying. And sometimes it is hard on us that we are paying salary. We are paying even more than the government sometimes. Yeah.
All right. At least you're lucky you didn't close shop like other schools did. I don't know whether there was something you did different.
I did. I paid my staff since. They have never lacked their salary since we had the pandemic. I've been giving salary.
What is it that you did different that probably you would say it worked for you?
When you receive money, when you receive money, even if it's a donation, don't eat it all. You must have saving. When you have saving, you will overcome challenges. I was having savings for my project. So whether it was difficult, I was still having something to sustain these people because these people, they are parents to their family. They are family people, you know. They are family waiting for something. And I had to pay them. I had no option. I've been paying them since. Yeah.
Kenyans right now are very furious, and some really, even though it was done out of goodwill and good intentions, they're still very uncomfortable about the decision to lock down part of the country. Some are really crying foul about the deteriorating state of economy. At least for them who are struggling to stay afloat, they do not know how long they can sustain that. What options do we have? Should we fully reopen, or what do we do? How do we move from here?
We need to have a proper discussion concerning what is happening in the country today. We need to have a discussion between the people and the government. Closing down, to me, it was good because it can prevent the spread of COVID, to me. The other side, it was not good because why do we close the country? Because of the spread of COVID-19. 2 weeks before the close of COVID, all the political leaders were having rallies, having 1 million people, 2 million people, 300,000 people in the roadside in the name of campaigning for BBI, campaigning opposed the BBI, such kind of things. Then when the COVID attacked the leaders, now we had to close the country. My question to this, how many small people who was not titled died in between before the country was being locked down? That's a question. We can only count for the big fish. But what about the small fish, the daga, who just died down there in their houses before the lockdown? So my advice to it, we need to learn how we can survive with COVID. We need to take precaution. We need to keep social distance, but the country should be open by now.
But this is something that, you know, people were told. I mean, the protocols were very clear, but we've had the Ministry of Health constantly complain about people putting down their guard, not observing some of these protocols. I mean, we've just become so used to it, to the sense that we do not even find it necessary to take care of our own health.
My sister.
I mean, was there any option?
How can you put somebody...
Did we also fail? Let's just be candid about this.
I'm back to the people that we have not failed in a way. Somebody has no food in his house and he has 6 children. How will you tell this person to stay at home? And you have not provided anything to the same family. I will rather say, let me go die, but I come back with food to give my children, which means the government failed on putting measures. Putting measures, if the government can provide the measures, like they provide sanitizers to all the family members. I see when the government want to count people, they come to your door. Why don't they come to your doors now to bring sanitizers, to bring the measures into your door? So that when you go out and you're being found without mask and keeping distance, now there's a question. But now you are telling your people to keep distance. You have not given them food. You have not given them money. You have not paying them their rent. You have not even called upon the landlords to have a discussion to lower the rent. You have not even talked of how can we lower the fuel. You have not had the discussion for this, and you are telling this person that you lock him down. Today, as we speak, walk out here by the street. We have thousands of people walking, trying to manage their daily life. And then by 8 tonight, you don't want to see them anywhere. What's the difference between 4 in the morning to 8? Because I feel we contract this disease daytime than nighttime. As I said before, you lock down the hotels, the restaurants. You can only have takeaway. The restaurant can only accommodate 20 to 30 people, but the bus accommodates 70 people, but they are running, they are driving. So the government has not put the measures correctly.
But that is exactly my point. You're saying the bus carries 70 people. I mean, they're not supposed to carry 70 people. Why are we doing that? I mean, how are we also failing, defying some of these directives?
The same government has not provided the government buses. These buses are owned by people who are paying loan. The people who are boarding these buses are fighting to get their daily bread. They are fighting to pay their rent. Their bosses at workplace have not understand that they should not come to job and pay them, because how will you pay them? So they have to still squeeze in the vehicles to get their life going. But if the government of Kenya provided, like before we had Kenya Bus, then they can put regulations and we will follow. But how will you tell a person, an individual person, to take care? And sometimes, for example, you're living in Nairobi. You know that in the morning the fare is up. In the evening the fare is up. You see? And if you don't get this bus, the one which is full, then you cannot go back to your house, because by 8 it is a lockdown. So people have to squeeze in and they're still contacting the virus. So according to my understanding, the government should do something better, not even lockdown. Lockdown has no point now. Because if you lock down here and you lock down Nairobi, Nakuru, wherever, I'm not against what the president did. I respect him and he's my president. But there's another way of doing it. You lock down a church, but you do not lock down Gikomba market. The same people will go to the market, but they cannot go to a church. So there are some measures that we need to put in order. The government should come out with money, because the money is in the government, to help the individual, the families that cannot afford themselves, with the measures that the government already put. It's like you go back to your family and you announce to your children that you have to go to school, but I'm not going to pay you school fee. How do you expect your child to go to school if you're not paying the school fee? Is it possible? It is not. So the best we can do, the government must have conversation with these members. And then we know where people can chip in themselves and where what the government is providing to the same people in this country.
Do we have a place for responsibility of the population themselves. What should Kenyans do? You've talked so passionately about the government and what the government needs to do. But what should Kenyans do? First, to mitigate the spread of COVID. Secondly, to survive through these very hard economic times.
The citizen must keep distance. They must follow the measures that have been put there. We have to try, because I said here before, my life is my life alone. When I die alone. I don't die with you. So we need to take measures. We need to try. And we know where the government failed. Let us not fail because the government failed. Let us try our level best to follow the measures, to do the right things at the right time, and to understand the nature of the spread of the corona, which is affecting the whole world. So if we take our measures, we take everything, this thing will not spread. Yeah.
All right. I want you to, in the final minutes that we have for this conversation, just tell us what lies ahead for you as somebody who is running an organization that caters for the vulnerable. What is it that you're planning in the, if this, continues, how are you going to sustain yourself?
I may say I leave the rest to God, because it's becoming so difficult. It's becoming so worse. But the only person who can actually help in this is God. And I will try my level best to put the measures in order, and I will try my best to make my organization be self-reliant in any way. Yeah. Any
parting shots? This is your chance.
I wish our citizen good luck in this this hard time. I wish everybody to take care. I wish the government to work closely with the citizen so that we can pass this hard time.
Yeah, indeed. And we look forward to better times ahead and all this to be behind us as a country and as we forge ahead. Thank you so much, Newton Ogada, for creating time for us this morning and for having this conversation with us. That has been Newton Ogada, the founder of God Will Provide Foundation, just shedding some light on how to care for the vulnerable in the society during these very hard times of the COVID-19 pandemic that has caused an economic downturn that has shattered the globe. So many businesses have collapsed. Kenyans are facing a rough time. Not just Kenyans, but each and every person in the world is facing a rough time trying to make ends meet. And it's a call for you that regardless of what we are facing, still extend a helping hand to somebody who could be in need next to you. That is what we have been talking about. And of course, we have also received very sad news. I'd just like to highlight this as we bring this to a close. This morning, at least 15 people perished in a grisly road accident at Kimuyu area along Mombasa Highway. One among the stories we are tracking for you this particular morning. And of course, it's an early morning accident that involved two buses. One was from Mombasa to Malindi. The other was from Mombasa, was heading to Mombasa from Marereni. We understand that both drivers of the two buses succumbed and died. Several people were injured and were taken to the hospital. What you can see on your screen there is what we have concerning that particular accident that happened this particular morning. A lot is emanating. Eyewitnesses are saying that the Garissa-bound bus was overtaking and lost control, hitting the Sabaki shuttle. But of course, it's a developing story. We'll be giving you clear details about what really happened as soon as we get them. But several bodies have been taken to Malindi mortuary this morning. And of course, the injured were rushed to the hospital by the police who arrived at the scene. The Red Cross team and well-wishers were also there. We are tracking this story for you. It's among the stories our news team is working on for you. And we'll be giving you more details about this. My name is Serfine Achieng Ouma. Thank you so much. It's been really a pleasure doing this for you. Susan Thuku is our sign language interpreter. Thank you so much for creating time. We are now going to be paving way for Tamrini, the Swahili version of the program. Nancy Okware will be taking you through that. But for us, it's a wrap. Thank you for watching.